The day you bought your Tesla, you didn't buy a car, you bought a feeling. And that feeling, that specific, intoxicating feeling of being ahead of everyone else, that's exactly what they sold you. But here's the part nobody tells you. That feeling has an expiration date. And once it's gone, you'll finally see what you actually paid for. Think back to the moment. You were probably watching something online, a YouTube video, a Tesla ad. Maybe you saw one pull away silently from a stoplight, and every other car just disappeared in the rearview mirror. And something happened in your chest. Not excitement, something deeper than that. Recognition, like you've been waiting for this car your whole life without knowing it. That's not an accident. That's not luck. That was engineering, not of the car, but of you. Tesla didn't just build a vehicle, they built a mirror. And when you looked into it, you saw a version of yourself you desperately wanted to be. Smarter, cleaner, ahead of the curve. So you signed the paperwork, and the mirror became yours. The first week is almost indescribable. You find reasons to drive, errands you didn't need to run, routes that take 15 minutes longer. You park where people can see it. You're not driving a car anymore. You're making a statement, and people respond. They look, they ask questions. Coworkers mention it. Strangers approach you in parking lots. For one brief, beautiful moment, the world sees you the way you always wanted to be seen. This is where it gets dangerous, because that feeling, that rush, starts to fuse with your identity. The car isn't something you own anymore. It becomes something you are. And that is exactly what Tesla designed for. Not the acceleration, not the autopilot, the identity transfer. Then you find the others. Tesla forums, Reddit threads, Facebook groups. Thousands of people exactly like you. Educated, forward-thinking, slightly evangelical about a car company. And something subtle happens. You stop being a customer. You become a believer. You defend software updates you didn't ask for. You explain away features that don't work. You develop a vocabulary for problems. Early adopter friction. Over-the-air improvement. Part of the journey. Mechanics call this something different. They call it a broken car. But in the community, criticism feels like betrayal. Doubt feels like weakness. And admitting a problem out loud, that feels like admitting you were wrong. Most people don't notice this part, but this is where the lie starts to take root. It's never dramatic at first. A door handle that hesitates in the cold, a screen that freezes at the worst moment possible, panel gaps you start measuring with your eyes, wondering if they were always that wide. You go online and search, and here's what you find. Thousands of other people with the exact same issue. Posts from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, some going back to the beginning. And at the bottom of every thread, the same response from Tesla support. We're aware, it'll be addressed in a future update. You close the tab, you tell yourself it's fine. It's still the future, it's still your car. But something has shifted. That mirror, the one that showed you the best version of yourself, a crack just appeared in it. And once you see a crack, you can never unsee it. Let's talk about autopilot, because this is the one that changes people. When they sold it to you, the word autopilot carried a specific weight. It implied something. Safety, intelligence, a machine that could handle what humans couldn't. You trusted it, maybe completely. Maybe you relaxed in ways you wouldn't have in any other car. Maybe you looked away for a second longer than you should have. Maybe you handed it control in a situation where control mattered. And then something happened. It might have been small. A sudden brake, a drift toward a lane line, a moment where the car's confidence and reality didn't match, or maybe it was bigger than that. Either way, the word autopilot stopped meaning what it once meant, and you started to realize something uncomfortable. That word was chosen very carefully, not to describe what the technology does, but to describe what it makes you feel. Safe, confident, taken care of. That's not engineering. That's copywriting. Here's where it gets psychological. You know something is wrong. You've felt it for months now. The problems, the promises that quietly disappear, the updates that fix one thing and break three others. But you don't leave. And the reason you don't leave is the same reason people stay in bad relationships long after they should have walked out the door. Because leaving means admitting something about yourself. If you sell the Tesla, what does that say? That you were fooled? That the identity you adopted was built on a product that didn't deserve it? That the version of yourself you were performing, the forward thinker, the early adopter, the one who got it before everyone else, was partially fictional? That's not a car problem. That's an ego problem. And Tesla knew this. They architected this. They built a product wrapped in an identity so strong that criticizing the car feels like self-criticism. They didn't just sell you a vehicle. They sold you a personality. And returning the vehicle means returning the personality. Most people aren't willing to do that. So they stay. The longer you stay, the more you've invested. Not just money, belief. You've defended this brand in arguments. You've converted friends. You've posted about it. You've attached your name and your intelligence and your taste to a company. And now that company is doing things you didn't sign up for. Decisions that feel erratic. Promises that evaporated quietly. A CEO who dominates headlines in ways that have nothing to do with cars. And you're still there. Still making excuses. Not because the car deserves it. Because you spent too much of yourself on it to walk away clean. This is the sunk cost, not the $80,000, the identity cost. The version of you that staked your intelligence and judgment on this brand. That's what keeps people loyal long after loyalty stopped making sense. This is the moment that changes everything. Because when you finally see it, when you really see it, you realize the lie was never about the car. Let's say it clearly. The Tesla lie is not that the car is bad. Some of it is genuinely extraordinary. The acceleration is real. The technology is real. The vision, at its best, is real. The lie is what they told you the car would do to you. They told you, not in words, but in every image, every ad, every community they cultivated, that owning this car would make you part of something important, something historic, something that mattered. They told you you were an early adopter of the future. What they didn't tell you is that being an early adopter means you pay full price to test an unfinished product, that the future they were selling has been perpetually 2 years away since the beginning, that the software running your car gets updated without your consent, sometimes changing things you relied on, that the resale value that was supposed to hold strong has, for many owners, quietly collapsed, that the service experience, the thing you'll desperately need when something goes wrong, is for many people one of the worst in the industry. None of that was in the brochure, because the brochure wasn't selling you a car, it was selling you a dream. And dreams, by design, don't come with fine print. Talk to the ones who walked away. Really talk to them. Not the haters who never owned one, not the critics with an agenda. The real owners, the true believers who spent years defending every flaw, every failure, every controversy. Ask them what finally broke it. It's never one thing. It's the accumulation, the slow erosion of trust, the morning you called service and waited 3 weeks for an appointment, the update that removed a feature you used every single day, the moment you did the math on resale and felt something cold move through your chest. It's the conversation you had with yourself in the driveway at 11 p.m., the one where you finally stopped making excuses and just sat with the truth. They almost all say the same thing when they look back. I knew earlier than I admitted. They knew. The signs were there, but the identity investment was too deep, the community was too loud, and the part of them that didn't want to be wrong was louder than the part that was paying attention. The lie doesn't work because Tesla is dishonest. The lie works because you wanted it to be true. Here's what nobody tells you about buying a dream. When the dream fades, and it always fades, you're left with something more valuable than the dream ever was. Clarity. The Tesla experience, for all its flaws, teaches you something about yourself that no honest product ever could. It shows you what you were looking for when you weren't being honest about it. Were you chasing status disguised as sustainability? Were you buying belonging disguised as innovation? Were you paying for the feeling of being right about the future, about yourself, about where the world was going? That's not weakness. That's human. Every car we buy is really a story we're telling about ourselves. The truck that says, I'm capable. The sports car that says, I'm not finished yet. The Tesla that says, I understand something you don't. None of those stories are true, and all of them are. But the moment you understand why you bought the car, really understand it, you stop being the customer. You become the one who's paying attention. And that's rarer than any vehicle on the road. The lie every Tesla owner eventually discovers isn't about the car. It was never about the car. It's the moment you realize you weren't buying the future, you were buying a version of yourself you hadn't earned yet. And the most expensive part of that purchase isn't the price on the window, it's the time it takes to figure that out.